So we have B.B. King, the master of the blues, and he once said that he has the sweetest touch that he ever heard, and he was the only one who could give him the cold sweats. Who was B.B. referring to? He was referring to no other than Peter Green. So why was Peter's tone so extraordinary? He played a 1959 Gibson Les Paul. It was no secret that the guitar moved to Gary Moore afterwards, and then Kirk Hammett has it today. But along the ways, that guitar went into a repair store and got some work done to it. And when the guy was rewiring the pickups, he rewired them, I believe, the wrong way, which put it out of phase in the middle position. So funny story, this Tokai Love Rock, I was obsessed with Peter Green and tone over the years, and so what I actually done was I took this pickup and I took it apart and I tried to take the magnet out, and basically there's a mod that you can do that you can flip the magnet and that'll basically give you the same out of phase tone. But me not knowing what I was doing, there was lots of wax in there. I basically destroyed the original pickups that came on this guitar, or the original, just the front pickup. I destroyed it, so somebody a lot smarter and talented than me had to put it back together. So this pickup's actually like a DiMarzio pickup, so it's not the right pickup for the guitar. It sounds okay. At some point I think I'm going to end up upgrading these pickups anyway. This was my very first guitar, so this one I'm probably always going to keep and just use it as like a Frankenstein guitar. But so that was how Peter ended up accidentally getting his tone. That sound became one of the most copied tones like in guitar history. They now sell pickups specifically for that, and that's probably what I should have done, was bought the pickups rather than actually trying to mod it myself, not knowing what I was even doing. So back to BB. What actually was it that BB heard? Did he hear that out of phase tone? Did he hear the songs? Did he hear like the music that Peter was creating? Or was it bigger than that? Because Gary Moore owned that same guitar for years, and I don't even know if Gary ever even played it in that middle position, but I know that Gary Moore's tone was completely different than Peter's. Kirk has it now. That same thing again, same guitar, completely different tone. So we know the tone of the guitar isn't the answer. That's not what BB heard. So we need to dig in a little bit deeper here and actually find out what it was. Wasn't the guitar, was it the songs? There's 3 amazing songs that keeps coming up. One of those songs was Albatross. Albatross was an instrumental. It was just basically 2 chords, real slow, drenched in reverb, went to #1 in the UK. George Harrison actually said that the Beatles used that as a starting point in the studio, and I'm just going to quote it here. He said, let's be Fleetwood Mac doing Albatross just to get going, and what came out of that session was Sun King from Abbey Road, the most successful band in history, trying to sound like Peter Green. That's pretty cool. Then you've got Black Magic Woman, 1968, Peter Green writes it. It's a hit in the UK and America, almost nobody hears it. This day, probably Santana's got the most famous version of it. Like if somebody says play Black Magic Woman, people automatically know it's Santana, which is a pity because Peter wrote an amazing song, and I don't think he gets enough credit for it. But it's cool that somebody like Santana took a song of Peter Green's and blew it up, and what it is today. And for that reason, Peter will always be remembered. Then you've got the Green Manalishi. Then you've got the Green Manalishi, his very last song with Fleetwood Mac. Kirk Hammett, I'm going to quote it again, he said, "Green Manalishi sounds like it was written in the swamps of New Orleans at the stroke of midnight under a full moon, but it was probably written by Peter Green in his flat somewhere in London." It goes back to like what we talked about in the Rory Gallagher video. You have somebody like Peter Green who inspired Kirk Hammett, Gary Moore, the Beatles, like these family trees, these branches of like guitarists, they don't necessarily have to sound the same, but they're all influenced by like the music and the tones, that have been created in the past and present, so that's what this whole blues journey is about for me. It's like diving into like all of my favourite players and just getting to know a wee bit more about who influenced them and who they influenced. And obviously I always knew about Santana, but I never knew that the Beatles, in fairness, was inspired by Peter Green, so that's pretty cool. So back to BB. Great songs. I don't think make BB King sweat. I'm sure they do a little bit, but not the way that he's talking about, that tone, that sweetness, that just one of those things that when you hear it, it just gives you goosebumps, So then, what does that come to next? It comes down to the feel. So, was it the feel of Peter Green that gives BB King the sweats? Let's have a So we know it wasn't the guitar that gave BB the sweats. I'm sure some of the music did, some of Peter's music, some of old Fleetwood Mac music was awesome, like them early days, like just so bluesy. Like if you ever want to listen to the early Fleetwood Mac stuff, like it's just fantastic, So, but I think what BB actually heard was he heard himself, and what I mean by that is like, so when we listen to people like BB King, Albert Collins, Albert King, Freddie King, Peter Green, like all of these guys, it gives you goosebumps. You listen to some of the phrasing that they do, some of the notes, and it's just like, whoa, like it literally gives you goosebumps. You feel it in your heart that these guys they're not just playing music, they're feeling the blues, they're feeling the vibrations of the energy coming through them, under the guitar, and they're at one with the guitar, and we listen to it and it just gives us goosebumps, it makes us sweat. And I think that that's what BB King meant by it. He meant that like he is getting from Peter what we get from listening to BB, which is super cool. Like, you think a lot of these guys that they're around a lot of top-notch guitarists and singers, so for BB King to say that Peter was the only one that ever gave him the sweats, well, I think that is pretty extraordinary from BB to say that, and shows you what Peter is as a player. There's a lot more we could have talked about Peter. I'm sure there's a lot of other stories out there that everyone has heard of, and I didn't really want to go down that road with him, like about what happened between him and Fleetwood Mac or anything like that. I just wanted to keep this positive and about the music, so, and speaking about the music, all the songs that I played today, like I grew up listening to those songs, and so I could have just found clips of Peter Green playing these songs, but I wouldn't have learned anything as a guitar player if I had done it that way. So I've been studying his guitar playing and his touch and his feel, and the songs and stuff, learning about how to solo over chord changes and which note he plays here and there, and so the reason why I decided to like play these songs and these are songs that I had to learn this week. I knew a little bit of Oh Well and a little bit of I Need Your Love So Bad, but the main thing for me is that making these videos, this is going to help make me become a better player, because every video that I make for every artist, I want to do this. I want to learn 4 or 5 of their songs and break it down and actually start to become a better player, rhythmic, lead, and all the rest of it. So I hope you didn't mind watching me playing the guitar and trying to fumble my way across some of these songs. As I say, it was literally this week, the last few days, that I started practicing those songs. But hopefully as I progress here, some of these songs will get better as I go. So if you have any suggestions of artists that you would like me to listen to or break down like this, to start off with, I'm just going to do artists that I personally have grown up listening to, but I'm all for if somebody's got an idea for somebody that I've never heard before or I've forgotten about. I'm all for jumping into this and learning about them and learning their music as well, So if you stuck around to the end, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful night, and you know what, if you could, it doesn't cost anything to subscribe. Give a thumbs up there, and maybe add a comment if you like what you see. So thanks very much for watching. Have a good night. Bye.